know there's more in you, but you cannot see it. There's a remedy, and I've got the strategy. It's time to turn your dreams into a reality. Push, and I'ma help you. Got the time to. And I'ma help you. 'Cause it's time to.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Season 5 of Push Talk Podcast. My name is Ose Sesay. I am your Push Talk host, producer, I guess everything else and in between. And I'm so excited today to be able to come back, launch this episode, this kickoff episode for season 5. Such great things in store. I'm excited to meet with you guys a bit again. I've been on a very long break. It takes sometimes just, being intentional about I'm going to get this done because I usually come back in February and it's June, which is our third year anniversary. So yay to push. Woo! We've been pushing you towards your purpose since June of 2020 in the middle of COVID. I remember the first episode where we talked about I think it was the topic of that episode was in the midst of crisis, like how to really persevere in the midst of crisis. And we talked about like using COVID as a boost to do better and push yourself to do greater things. And my goodness, I thank God for all the good things people did in COVID because I've been to so many graduations this month and last month alone. And it's inspiring because that means people truly use COVID as a time to not just sit around, but to go back and get their educations and build their skill sets. And I know there's so much more to come next year too. So I'm just excited and I feel inspired. It took a while to get me to a place where I could find time to record this, but I'm so happy I came back to do it because I've missed you guys. I've missed really being able to share my journey and help get you a step closer to purpose because I'm here to push you. I'm your push coach. Okay. So if this is your first time listening, I'm sorry, you have missed out on 4 seasons of greatness. So you might as well stop right now. I've had so many great guests, so many great people sharing their journey, entrepreneurs, people in the workforce world, all different walks of life. So go back and listen and then come back and pick back up here, or I'll let you listen today, but make sure in between from now, this week to next week, you go and catch up. Okay. Just play it all day. You'll love it. So make sure you subscribe to as well, because I want to see my subscriptions go up. I want to see my likes go up this year, because I really want to give it to you guys as the theme of this season. It's all about living in purpose. I want us to live in purpose, be our true, authentic selves, living in purpose and doing it well. That's why you see me here today. I have no makeup. I am just a little bit of lipstick. I try to put a flat out fabulous. Okay, that's the color I have, if you're wondering. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to look to do this in perfection. I'm just going to do it to who I am. And I think Sarah Jakes as well. Yes, taking off her wig. and honestly, I commend her for just saying, you know what? I'm just going to do it in a way that works for me. And sometimes we just have to make that decision. So let's catch up on what's been going on. So for Push Talks, this is again our 3rd year anniversary. We're so excited. Push Talks is, of course, birthed out of Push Strategist LLC, my business that I've had since 2020. And while so much has happened in the last year alone, I spent a lot of time just really focusing on building the framework to where I see business working. And finally having that right strategy on what works for us, what lane we're in, what lane we're not in, what we're staying away from. Because when you're starting a business, like you kind of cast your net everywhere. And I felt like I cast it in all the areas which I've been told I do great in, and that I believed I did great in. But then I started to like narrow down like what's really working, like what's bringing revenue, what's really, growing the business. And after really assessing that, like one of my good friends says, shout out to David, you stay closest to the money. I started to really say, okay, staying closest to the money for us looks like this. And so I've really kind of shaped my business since last year, like probably June, July last year, to start to stay close to money by bringing on just dynamic partners to help carry out the mission of doing meaningful work, helping to uplift Black and Brown communities, immigrant refugee communities, BIPOC communities. And we do that not just your traditional DEI work. It's really about making sure that we create programming and access, provide knowledge in a way that is collaborative. So figuring out what the community needs, collaborating with them to hold decision makers responsible, by partnering with workforce organizations and small business organizations, and helping empower and uplift small businesses by giving them access to how to, grow their capacity by getting into different ways of doing business. So there's so much that we do, and I wouldn't be able to do it without the amazing consultant partners I have. So thank you. But that was revelation I got last year, to say you can't do this by yourself, Asa. And if you try to, you're going to not do too well. So that leads me into what our topic for today is. It's about being uncommon and doing things that are bigger than ourselves. So I consider myself an uncommon person. And uncommon, the dictionary definition of it is out of the ordinary, unusual. And I will say that for me, I consider myself uncommon because most of the time, some of the risk and things I do and I take are not what I see others around me doing, but it's more just for where the foresight that God has given me to where I want to go. So I would say starting like maybe in my 20s, I told myself I wanted to be retired by 40, and I want to make sure that God, if when God allows me to do that, I'll be blessed to be a blessing on that journey. And also, I will be able to do really rewarding things with my life. And that's what I've used to live by. So, with that being said, I've had to make and do things that just don't seem like it's the wide path that everybody else goes down. It is different, but it's been being uncommon sometimes can be lonely. Being uncommon sometimes can be difficult, and it's so hard to look at my camera and then look at here. So sorry, y'all, if my eyes are bouncing. Okay, but you know, being uncommon is where I have seen God really be able to bless me. And I want to talk to those folks today who feel like they're uncommon and different and feel lonely on this journey and feel like, hey, how can I do it? And you can do it. You can do all things. Put your mind to it. Trust that even when you feel lonely, you have to be your biggest cheerleader, and I tell people sometimes I do something where if I'm feeling insecure or um, feeling like somewhat demotivated, I kind of trick my mind and visualize myself and push myself to get out of that space by seeing myself and my successes come to life. And I know that may sound odd, but it's about seeing things as not the way they are, but where you want them to be. And that can be hard sometimes when seem like you're in a pit that you just can't get out of, or that you've been going hard at a business and it just doesn't seem to give a break, and you're in your last financial positive month, it feels like, and you're like, how am I going to make it? Or, you're going after job interview and you're not seeing breakthrough. And you just feel like I've just been doing this and I don't know if I want to continue. For all my career people listening, but you just have to continue to see it the way you want it to be. I was reading a book and they just talked about just the power in that alone of just being able to overcome what we're feeling and touching every day in this natural, world of ourselves. We're touching, seeing, and feeling versus what we can imagine or think. Um, it's hard because, you're like, I'm feeling the pain. I feel the pinch right here. I feel the pinch on my arm. Yet you're telling me to imagine that I don't feel it, and that it's all good. That's difficult, but on being uncommon and going after your goals, you can't let that pinch keep you from pushing forward. You have to continue to go, even feeling the grunt of it. And we see that in so many ways that people live their life, from athletes and all those performers. I know there's been a lot of performances. I went to Janet Jackson's concert, lately. I was like, yes, I stepped out and had fun. And even, seeing her, I'm like, man, she's almost 60 years old. And she was working and she wasn't, maybe where she used to be, but she has built a great name for herself. But it was just like, um, all it took for her to get there, I'm seeing her, do it, and just thinking, man, she's 67 years old. Or not 67, she's almost 60. Let me not put ages on Janet. And just thinking all it took for her to get there, she talked about on stage, like the first song she did, she was like, this was my first number one hit at 19. And just thinking over 19 years, all she lost and all she went through and stuff like that, I'm sure. But I'm just like, wow, and she's still here, Together Again is what the tour was called, if you haven't heard of it. But I was like, wow, I wonder at 19, did she ever imagine it would get like this? And I'm sure she didn't. She probably felt her own pinches as she was going through it, more than pinch, like a powerful blows at time. But she kept going, and I don't know her daily life, but I'm sure she has so much that she is grateful for and thankful for that has happened because of her continuing to persevere. So I want to say to you today, no matter how uncommon you feel, no matter how it may seem like you are just the oddball out and seem like life just wants to beat you down and you just aren't seeing, all that you're putting in. Trust me, you are not unusual for a bad reason. You are not rare for a bad reason. All these things are because when that time comes where you see the abundance and the breakthroughs and the successes and what you're doing, that's going to be such a great inspiration to the people who have watched you and who have maybe said, oh, there she goes again, or there he goes again. Why don't they just give up? And then, they have a breakthrough. I was talking to my best friend too. She went to see Little Mermaid movie and she talked about the main character and just her journey in acting and, breakthrough in her career. And, you think about that and you really are happy for people who have really persevered and didn't give up. Maybe there's somebody who we never know their name today who was to get that role in Little Mermaid, and they gave up maybe a few months before she came in, and just like that, she got it. Don't be that person that you have to look back and tell your story to just your little small community and nobody knows your name. Be that person who's uncommon and great that keeps pushing, and so you can be able to, make a difference in your community, in your generation. That's my big goal. I want to be able to be remembered, and that by God's grace, that Ose was somebody who continued to push and was able to be a bridge for others and make a difference in my generation. And that doesn't mean that maybe everybody may know my name, but the people who do know it are able to really vouch like, man, she pushed, she did it, she was successful, and we know that that we saw all that she continued to persevere over, and now we're excited to see the success in her life, you know. So yeah, I want you to be that uncommon person. I want you to be that person who others may look at as the oddball out, but watch and see what's going to happen when you continue to press forward and don't get moved by people. Let me tell you, one of the biggest things that we allow life to make us do is be moved by people. And people, we love people, but people are just, they're like waves in the sea. It's up and down. You know, when you're up, they're up with you. When you're down, they're out. So don't allow people to um, shift and shake you and make you feel like you need to come where the majority is. Be where the minority is. Be where it's different, and see what will happen by you just staying on that path. Now, I'm not saying to, especially us business folks, you see something failing and it's crashing, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep going." No, I know some business owners who have been doing it longer than I have, and their businesses have been mediocre because they refuse to stop and assess. Like, I know I shared with you guys last year, I stopped and assessed and felt like, you know what? If I want this to be successful, I'm bringing on other consultants. I am allowing myself to learn some new processes and systems, paid people to help bring on some knowledge and financial knowledge to help the business, you know, invested in myself and the business a little more. And sometimes there are business owners and those who are doing this that don't take that time to really be realistic to, because part of that journey does involve, excuse me, sometimes taking a pause and stopping so you can fine tune things. It's like a car; you can't just let it keep going. It has to get an oil change. It's, you know, everything needs to stop and take in, okay, how am I doing? Let's assess. Let's look at, you know, the numbers. Let's look at how this is flowing. Is this really being, you know, is it really thriving, or is there something I could do to help it thrive better? So that also is important. And that is something that I also highly recommend too. So let's keep going. Don't feel odd. Don't feel different because you are uncommon. Trust me, there is purpose in why you may feel like the oddball out. Take time to just discover all the great things. Take time to discover all the great things in this season of feeling like you're on the journey alone. Get to know who you are, get to know your temperament, get to know your all the good things about yourself, and allow it to be a time of learning and growing. So when you get to the top, because you're going to get there, you will have the great character, the humility, be able to look back and really appreciate the journey, and be also mindful of helping those, even in those seasons of feeling alone, still do well, because that's all part of the reward that will come, and that you didn't let your circumstances hinder you from still uplifting and pushing others. So yes, that's it. That's all I have today. As you guys know, I try to keep this very short. It's just short motivational messaging to help you keep going on your purpose. Season 5 will be full of goodness. Let me see. I have some episodes here that I want to, you know, highlight and share with you all. Where's my episode book? I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek, but I guess I Okay, guys, that is it. That's all I have today for you. So I want to thank you for joining us for season 5. We have some great content in store over these next couple weeks. I'm keeping it real with y'all. Okay, this is my anniversary month, so I'm going to talk about some things that I've never talked about. Some of our episodes coming up: living a lie, joy, that's small, yeah, right. These are all topics that we're going to talk about. Have some guests coming in that talk about I failed, y'all. perfectionism, and so much more. The Giving Tree, I know we all read that book as a kid, and really being able to dissect how that can help us on the journey to purpose, and so much more. I won't give you guys all the episodes, but in any event, make sure you come back. Make sure you continue to follow us on social media. Push Strategist, the name of all of our social media outlets. Hit me up if you need to talk and just want to bounce some stuff off about ways to continue working towards your purpose. And I'm happy to help you. And we have an upcoming class. So any small business who wants to get into government contracting, I'm sorry, my Minnesota folks, this is not for you because we're doing in person. We did in person last year over the summer, and we're going to try to do some in person this summer classes. But this is for any business located outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota, anywhere East Coast, West Coast, down south, Midwest, outside of Minnesota. We have a great government contracting class. It will be myself and the amazing Mark Cooper of Mac Consulting. Please, it will be myself and the amazing Mark Cooper of Mac Consulting. We will be helping a small group, very small group of businesses who want to get into government contracting, sharing the journey, giving them capacity statements, everything else in between. And I will share some of my tips to where I've gotten double-digit clients. And I want you to be able to do that too. So please join us. We have a interest list, which I will put in the show notes. So sign up there, and then you'll hear from us probably the next week or two on the steps to register for those sessions. So thank you so much. Thank you for supporting Push Talk Podcast and Push Strategist LLC. I love you guys, and I look forward to the next episode where we continue to push you towards your purpose in business, career, and beyond. Don't miss out. Just make sure you follow us so you get all the notifications.